So welcome everybody to my talk. I wanted to speak with you about how you can improve your experience with using Eclipse, especially of treating the performance of working with Eclipse. I have the doubtful honor to be the last obstacle from keeping you going home, and thank you that you joined already. So my name is Karsten. I work for Itemis, and I use Eclipse in very, very different projects every day, and each project has different requirements in how to use Eclipse. And I collected things that I observed at customers, but how they could maybe improve their experience. So I think I've quite a good notebook on my own. It's quite current, a MacBook, Core i7, 4 cores and 16 gigabytes RAM, SSD hard disk, that's quite good. And sometimes I think, hey, what is Eclipse now doing? Why is my computer so slow? I think I have a sports car and I'm just slowed down, and this does not feel good. I'm frustrated when when I'm waiting for Eclipse building, compiling, changing windows, whatever it does. Whenever it gets slow, I'm unproductive, and this is frustrating. Especially if you work in teams, if you think how many times you lose by small things that you're doing, even if you can do small things only, it will help us to save lots of time. So what can we do? Maybe you know that there was some buzz some months ago that guys from JRebel published a small plugin that you can use to improve the performance of your Eclipse installation. You just drag it from the marketplace in your Eclipse installation. It's very convenient, and what can it do for you? You install it, you register with your phone number, your email address. Then it presents you a nice little screen and says, hey, you can maybe upgrade your Eclipse, you can tweak a little bit memory settings, and finally, you can install JRebel. And when you're done, you restart Eclipse and you see, okay, I've saved 4 seconds. Wow, that's cool. That was easy. All problems solved. It was too easy. Actually, it helps a little bit, but what does it do? It tweaks a little bit the Eclipse INI settings, does some preferences, and the next day you get a call from a salesperson from JRebel. That's actually not that easy to tweak performance. Actually, there are several performance problems. You can't ship around them, then you lose time. You can try to solve them, that's hard. You see several of them. And maybe you work off one of them and cut off the peak of the problem, and another problem pops up. So it's quite hard to do things. So you have to instantly improve whatever you see to be the biggest problem. And this can be one thing, and it can be another thing. So what is the easiest way to improve the performance of software in general? It's getting better hardware. Who of you does not have an SSD or knows someone who works without an SSD? Oh, it's only in a few. Actually, I experienced this at customers that they buy tons of computers and all of them have normal hard disks. That's waste of time. It's waste of money. It actually costs something, but the money that you invest in an SSD, is it worth? Nothing can boost the performance of working with Eclipse more than getting good hardware. That's actually not all. Whenever you wait, you lose money. So how many money? It depends on your wage, but it's roughly €1 per minute. So whenever you wait a minute, you lose €1. When you have a team of 10 people, you're losing €10 each minute the team waits. And this, you can maybe calculate against the cost of investing into better hardware. This pays really fast off. Okay, that's the easier way, but it's actually not the only way. This should be natural that you can do better to do this. But I have a fixed hardware now, and I want to improve that. The next thing that I can do has also nothing to do with Eclipse itself. You can tweak a little bit the antivirus. I've seen customers that say, okay, at Tuesday at noon, there's no way to work here. The antivirus is kicking in, and we are blocked for 2 hours. So it's quite stupid to scan class files with antivirus. So switch that off. Configure to not scan the output folders of your Workspace projects, the JRE directories, P2 directories, and metadata directories. It's no reason to scan this with antivirus. Another process which slows down your experience is the indexer of your operating system. On Mac, Spotlight, and you can actually do something about that. Whenever you compile your projects, what happens? It creates files. Whenever a file is created, the indexer is interested in it. So what's the reason behind that? I don't want to search for class files with Spotlight. Actually, I don't want to see them. I'm interested in the source files, yes. I want to use Spotlight to find some source file containing some string wherever it is on my hard disk. But I don't want to see any class files. What can I do? It's a little bit tricky then. You can only disable this for complete directories. So you have to configure one directory by another. This can be quite some work when you have several projects. So the easiest way is to disable this for the whole workspace or for your whole development environment, but then you lose the benefits of the indexer. But you can do this on a directory level also programmatically. In Mac OS X, there's a hidden feature that you can create a tag file, metadata never index. If you put this file on the top of your output directory, the indexer just skips that. But when you remove the build directory and recreate that, you have to also recreate this small little file again. And it's also operating system dependent. On Windows, there's another mechanism. You can set an attribute on directory, and on Linux, I don't know. So, what's the next? You have already good hardware. You have an SSD. You have plenty of RAM, and yeah, I/O performance is the key thing. An SSD is already very performant, but you can do it better. I have 16 gigabytes. From that, there's only half of them actually used. So I create a RAM disk. And on the RAM disk, I can put all the things where I can want to gain some speed. To give you a comparison, SSD is 10 times slower than RAM. So you can actually gain something. But what can you actually put on a RAM disk? You can put read-only data, so the JRE on it. You can store the bundles that Eclipse loads. That's actually what happens when you start Eclipse. You load lots of jars. So there it pays off for the startup time. You can put your output folders onto the RAM disk. I'm not interested in writing class files onto my hard disk. It's wasted space. I throw that away. I'm only interested in the build results later. So this I can do, but it's work. What I do there is I create links from the actual folders, from my output folders to the RAM disk. I create this by script. So this means there's some work to do. It only pays off if you are working every day with the same project set. So then you have one time the task to do that for some folders, and you're done. If you are steadily working with different projects, yeah, then the RAM disk is not big enough for you. And you have to keep care that actually the state is somehow stored and restored. This can be done by scripting, but actually I would recommend buy some tool. I use a tool called RAM Disk Manager, €5, and it automatically stores when I shut down the RAM disk and restores it when I restart the computer. Next thing is Eclipse installation itself. This year may take some time to boot. Do not install every single feature that anyone might want to use in your Eclipse installation. You can separate this by concerns that when you are working in a team, different developers have different needs for the Eclipse installation. And actually, you can also do this very easily nowadays by using oomph or Eclipse profiles. And there you can say I create a setup for this kind of person and a setup for that kind of person, and all of these installations are as minimal as they should be. Of course, it's always recommended to use a current Eclipse installation. Yeah, it's natural. Was not the best idea when upgrading to Juno, but nowadays it's getting better. And who was yesterday in Lars Vogel's talk about Eclipse runtime? There's actually plenty of things that the runtime team is doing to improve performance. Reduce the allocation of objects and clean up the code and make it faster, and so we can expect some improvements for Neon already. So it will be very good if you upgrade as fast as possible. That's not always possible in the projects. I know I have customers who use the same Eclipse installation for years, and it's quite a lot of work to convince them to upgrade their installation. But you might be in the better situation. You should take care of features that you might not need and they're expensive. Very expensive, for example, a subversion integration. I have to use that somehow, and actually I leave it also in my installation. Even if I could use the command line or Tortoise or whatever you have as another client for a subversion. It depends on how you used to work. But be aware it's really, really expensive. So the next thing that you can do is to tweak Eclipse a little bit, is to tweak the Eclipse IDE settings. The defaults are not that optimal. Actually, this is the main thing that this optimizer does for you. It makes sure that you point to the latest JRE. It increases a little bit the memory, so you depends on your workspace again, on your projects, but 2 gigabytes are often good as a heap size. Increase the young generation heap a little bit, since when you compile or work or build anything in Eclipse, what does actually Eclipse do? It produces lots and lots and lots of small time living objects. And if you increase this space a little bit, then it has the chance to create more objects in there before they go to the mature space. Very important feature which speeds really something up is disable class validation with verify none. Is it? Verify none. Okay, this is a security feature. You have to think about that. If you disable class validation, you also lose the ability that Java recognizes changes on your classes. But if you actually know you're in a rather secured environment, you don't care about that, if you enable this feature, you gain 10 to 20% of class loading speed. And yeah, then you can also tweak a little bit yeah, the garbage collector. Try maybe a little bit different ones. From the posts that I read on the internet and from my experience, the parallel GC is quite good, although the new default one will be the garbage first collector. Actually, I read a post that this collector is recommended from 6 GB heap space above. So you have to try that. Next thing is when you start with Eclipse, you have a workspace. In your workspace there are projects and you have several things open. And actually, this is the most important point. Less is more here. Do only the things into your workspace and have them open which you really need. Close perspectives that you don't use, close views that you don't use, close projects that you don't use. Actually, this is not so easy to close some projects. Typical example is you have two projects. One class is depending on a class from another project. That's quite usual. What happens if you have just project dependencies between them and you close the dependent project? Yeah, you get a compile error. That's annoying. So I cannot close this project. Other projects do it differently and better. Let's see EMF here. We have some library EMF core change depending on EMF eCore and EMF common, both open in the workspace. This can be seen by the icons there. And when you close EMF eCore and EMF common or whatever is in the workspace, then yeah, it's still resolvable. From where? Here it is from the target platform. So EMF uses the latest build within the target platform of itself. So when you close a project, you can resolve the latest state from the CI build. The same can you do with Maven. You can also have Maven dependencies and use yeah, the latest build state from Maven. And then you can close the projects. When you only have the projects open that you're actually working on, that's actually faster for Eclipse. It does not have to maintain such huge state. The build times go down. That's quite good. Sometimes you have big projects. Split them. I have a customer who has one project where the Java compiler of JDT is compiling 2 minutes. What can he do? Slice it down. Separate this in several projects. I show you example where from a project actually I'm working on. Yeah, it's a little bit from. So this is project that I'm working on. It's quite grown project, and let's see if I want to show you just the packages. Where is it? Oh, let's go down. So it's only the packages of that single project in the workspace. You can imagine that it takes some time to build that one. Actually, this project has around about 20,000 classes inside. But it's too big to be splitted at the moment. It must be. So I don't see. There's the cursor. So that's not artificial that there are some big projects out there. If you have such a big project or many resources in your workspace, sometimes you have the situation that you don't really need all of them to be visible. In the case of that project that I showed you right before, it is that the build result from command line goes into separate directory than Eclipse's build. And actually all classes are doubled then. and are visible as workspace resources. So Eclipse has to maintain double number of resources in the workspace. So 20,000 multiplied by 2, and yeah, so you maintain just unnecessary data. What you can do then is to use a resource filter. You can say, I want to filter separate kind of directories or some kind of files. Just open the project properties and you can then configure these filters. They won't be visible in Eclipse, but yeah, just on your System Explorer. Next thing is reduce compiler warnings. Yeah, I know that's annoying. You don't want to work on warnings, and then you have thousands of them. So what's the use in these warnings? Nothing. You don't plan to work on them, but when you build, they're cleaned up, and the compiler recognizes these warnings again, builds objects for them, and persists the state, and so for nothing. So disable them if you don't want to care about them. This can be easily done for whole folders, for whole source folders. And in the project properties, you can set to ignore any optional warning. So this solves many of those. Especially if you work with code generation. The code generator might produce code that has warnings inside. And then it's quite useful to use this. Next thing, if you are working on plugin development, you know that you have a target platform which consumes the whole internet, especially eclipse.org downloads, release, whatever, and then 20 or 30 other update sites. From there you consume something. This takes time to resolve the target platform, and if you use Tycho and use this as a target platform in the build, then you're waiting minutes before the actual build starts. What you can do here is to create a single repository and host that in your local network. There's cool tooling from Buckminster, that's a B3 aggregator. There you can specify, I want to collect this and that and that, and you can set up a CI job on your Jenkins and just create this update site for you, and then you consume the target platform from there. And also, this gives you more control over what you're actually consuming, since it only changes when you retrigger the build. When you work on plugin development, you have to often to start an Eclipse runtime. The easiest way to do is say, yeah, new Eclipse application, defaults, press start. What happens? Yeah, you enabled all the features and plugins from the target platform, from your current environment, and so. And yeah, this takes some time. You can improve the speed just by saying, I want to test this plugin, and all the dependent required plugins are also activated, and this yeah, speeds up the startup time of the runtime Eclipse. If you are working with API tooling, yeah, do you actually want to use the API tooling with every single compile that you do on your project? No, actually not. So from time to time, it's really important to check that you did not break API, but that's actually before you want to release something. So you can disable the API tooling for this time, or maybe just activate that in the CI build and let CI report you any issues, or maybe even fail if you have any issues. From time to time, it's useful to clean up some metadata in the workspace, especially JDT index. You can throw it away. JDT will take care to rebuild it. Or the local history. Yeah, you have already a versioning control system. So if you work with Git, yeah, throw away local history, or from time to time maybe. Or even clean up the whole workspace. Yeah, okay, you have to reset up the whole Eclipse preferences and download the projects and so, and import them. But this can be automated nowadays with oomph. It's just a no-brainer to throw everything away and restart with a fresh new workspace. This will speed up. Okay, then now we come to the to some yeah, easy things that you actually can do just by switching some preferences. First of all, you can deactivate some startup plugins. Don't load everything which might want to be loaded on startup. That's easy. You don't lose any functionality. Spell checking, my favorite. Spell checking in Java files. I don't care. I don't want to, that any resource is consumed by this stupid thing. So just turn it off. Validators. Yeah, there are tons of validators that might be interested in trigger during your build. This is a small project, and I have JSF, EGB, facelets. I don't have such a kind of project. So disable them and enable just those that you're interested in. Or maybe even trigger validations manually. To make your UI a little bit snappier, there's a feature called animations, disabling animations. But this is only for maximizing and minimizing yeah, the views. And yeah, you have a nice animation in there, and it takes 2 or 3 seconds to do this. If you disable this, yeah, pop, there's the window maximized. Decorators are also consuming time to compute a state, what should be presented. So everything that you can afford, just disable that. Actually, I like decorators, especially when it comes to team integration. I want to know which files are changed, which files are new. Those I actually like, but others I'm not interested in, and so I disable them. Here's one interesting decorator which does file icons based on content analysis. What does it do? What do you expect? It has to read and scan the files to actually compute if there should be an icon. I don't care. If you work with Maven, you should disable downloading the index on the startup. It might be useful for you, but when you use it, just download it manually. You can do this by context menu. And what I also prefer is to yeah, always use the XML editor instead of the form-based editor, which is the default. I don't use that form-based editor. I don't work with that. If you have enabled check for updates, disable that. What does it do? It tries to contact the internet or whatever is where your target platform is, and yeah, I don't want to do this automatically. So that's the preferences that you can change. Yeah, this is mostly the tips I can give you. And last but not least, if you have a special situation and you don't know what actually happens inside of Eclipse, just measure it. Don't guess what's going wrong. There are free tools to actually see inside Eclipse, like JVisual VM if you just don't want to pay something, or YorkIt. Sometimes when I want to know, yeah, which plugin is actually consuming my time now, if I don't see that from the first sight, I actually just start YorkIt, run, attach it to my Eclipse, and yeah, do my task and look a little bit into it. And also this helps you to maybe yeah, find bugs also in Eclipse. I had filed some bugs for platforms, for CDTs, small things that can be done, and everyone can profit from that. So don't wait for anyone that someone might be the same situation. Sometimes I'm asked when I'm yeah, searching performance issues, why hasn't this found someone before or reported someone before? Yeah, because it's a special kind of project situation. I'm working for a customer who has using CDT, and one of the projects actually has to rebuild the CDT index for 6 minutes. Others run in 15 seconds, 20 seconds, still not that fast as in Java. But 6 minutes, that's blocking. So you have to actually know what is happening. And the special situation is in this project that they have used tons of generics, generics of generics of generics. I don't understand what this code does, but I don't have to care about that. And they're using yeah, thousands of includes. It was 4,000 includes which are computed together, and these includes came from an NFS system, so actually over network. This cannot perform, but the actual issue was just, yeah, during the parsing, the compiler called the same methods millions of times with the same arguments. Yeah, what does it expect to be returned? The same thing. So if you then do a shortcut there and do some small caching, you can improve really performance. So search for those issues and help Eclipse to get better. So that's all. I'm time for some questions. Yes?